It is indeed a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to have His Royal Highness here with us today with his entourage. And as I sat there listening in the presence of royalty, I recall very vividly my trip with the Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Rowley to Ghana in 2016. And there are a number of things that will forever be with me from that visit to Ghana. We did visit one of the gas processing facilities out on the west coast, and it was with a sense of pride, the same way Mr. Mohammed spoke, that you got that from the Ghanaian people. And that is something that we must make sure continues with our people as we go forward. But the second most memorable moment for me that changed the course of my thinking a few years ago when I was a lot younger, or at least I felt a lot younger, was when we visited an old slave post on the coast. And I had studied West Indian history up to A-levels, and in particular wrote my papers on the atrocities of the African slave trade. And to now see it firsthand and no longer in a book where you read about it, it moved me in ways that nothing else could. And I remember walking down to as far as you could go, not all the way to the beach, and to see where they held our ancestors, our African brothers and sisters back then. And it's at that moment in time that I took a personal decision that anything that I can do in whatever God asked me to do going forward, I would. And coming into the energy sector, I want to draw to our attention in the energy sector and the global energy sector in particular, if we do not work closer, and Your Royal Highness, you said it on Monday in our meeting with the Prime Minister, as countries on the southern side of the world, if we do not take the decisions now and work together, unbeknownst to many, there is another wave of colonialism that is taking place, especially in the energy sector. And I can say here, with humility and maybe a pinch of pride, that we have been leading the charge against this on the global stage. And it was not too long ago in Cairo, Egypt, when we were participating in the Gas Exporters Countries Forum, which is the GECF, which is a small gathering of 58% of the gas owners in the world, that Trinidad and Tobago, small Trinidad and Tobago, made one significant intervention. And all of the countries at the table took it on board and inserted it into our ministerial statement. And I will tell you what the intervention was. I made a plea, because I am seeing once again what is going on the continent of Africa. Africa has significant hydrocarbon resources. Africa is one of the continents that does not have the type of energy security for its people because of how wide and diverse the continent is. So there are still areas in Africa where you're sitting on significant hydrocarbon resources, but those in the wealthy, developed world are taking decisions that it should not be financed, or when it should be exploited, how it should be exploited, that it should be exported as opposed to being utilized for the persons, the citizens, our brothers and sisters in Africa. And my intervention was as follows, that we have a responsibility to call upon the financial institutions as well as the multinational oil and gas companies to properly develop, along in cooperation with the African citizens, the utilization of your God-given hydrocarbon resources. And it was accepted and inserted into the ministerial statement. Because you see, Your Majesty, I am a strong believer that we must take hold of our own destiny. And it is up to us, and this time now, that we get together. And every time I'm on an international platform and I speak about the hypocrisy of what I see taking place today in Europe, when they tell us that we must have less carbon emissions, we must clean up the environment, we must do this, we must do that, that Africa must not develop its hydrocarbon resources. But when the Russia-Ukraine war took place on the 24th of February last year, the first thing they did is restart every single coal plant they could, which is the worst emitter into the atmosphere. And maybe stupidly I've been calling them out for it. But the next point I make is that if the CARICOM region, as small as we are, work along with Latin America and Africa, we will be a voice that everyone must take note of when deciding policies going forward. So, Your Royal Highness, it is a plea that I make to you as but one individual in a small country, but one with great beliefs that we can take control of our destiny. And for you and your delegation, as powerful as it is here today, to know that you have a partner in Trinidad and Tobago, and that you have a team that is on standby at any moment to work not only with you in Ghana, but throughout the continent of Africa, to make sure that your people are provided with the opportunity to develop their resources, because it is your resources. It is not the resources of those with much money. And to do it in a manner that will benefit your people, because that is part of the fight that we have been undertaking in the last 7 or 8 years here in Trinidad as we renegotiate. Your Majesty, it is my privilege to sit as close to a king as I ever will. But to let yourself and your delegation know that in Trinidad and Tobago, you have a partner that is on standby and ready to take up the charge, and we need to do it now for the generations to come, and don't let them close us out again. And I suspect very soon I won't be able to travel to many of these countries. So welcome. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago, which is a home. It also struck me when I was there and we were reading the names, that you have many of those names today. One that stood out in my mind was Kwamina. And then you have the Mitchells, and you have all of these names. You are here in Trinidad and Tobago amongst us. Welcome home, and please do enjoy the rest of your visit here, and I hope that it is not the last visit here, but most importantly, the energy sector of Trinidad and Tobago stands ready, and at your behest to work with Ghana as well as our brothers and sisters on the continent to do what is right for our people. Thank you.